One Piece has been running for over 2 decades, but every now and then, something changes. The animation suddenly looks too smooth, too detailed, too expensive for a weekly show. These are the moments where the animators said, "Fuck it, we ball." They didn't just do their job, they went beyond limits, broke expectations, and gave us scenes that felt like they came from a high-budget movie. Hold tight, we're diving straight into action.
富、冷静、力、彼の死に際に放った一言は、
俺の財宝か。この世の全てをそこに置いてきた。
世はまさに大海賊時代。
そりゃもちろんジュラキュールミホークだろ。
もっと要領よくやれよ。
Kicking off things, we've got this fine art called the fan letter, where we see the emotion and dedication of characters who live a normal life in One Piece. This episode perfectly captures how it feels to be on the sidelines and expresses the love and hardships the characters faced. Watching the war from a normal Marine's perspective proves how harsh and painful it actually is. The dynamic effects and smooth animation was like eating bread and butter. At this point, just give every legendary episodes to Megumi Eshitani and she'll cook the best meal possible.
兄貴
俺は弟だ兄貴逃げろ
ゴールド・ロジャーが大海賊時代を始めなければあの男の声を聞かなければ生きて帰れるとしたらあの男のように。
しかしあの子たちなぜだか見覚えありません。
同感だ。
よく見りゃお前の方がいくらか人間味があるか。何者だ?
Zoro's fight against S-Hawk is one of the underrated fights in One Piece. Zoro faces his arch nemesis, but it's actually a mini version of Mihawk. S-Hawk flexes his terrifying skill combined with the sleepless nights of animators to give us this epic fight. You know you're cooked as soon as you realize you're black, no matter how strong you are. If you're black and your opponent is Zoro, then just put the fries in the bag. At this point, Zoro's just fighting black characters as if it's his hobby.
나포레온! 헤라 이태용! 하이마마! 에자 사베르!
小僧ども、てめえらみてえのを何百人も海に沈めてきた。何十年も君臨してんだ俺たちは。
アサイン S N
身の程を知れよ。
Law and Kid's fight against Big Mom might not be as legendary as Luffy's fight against Kaido, but it sure was electrifying. Big Mom, being a Yonko, showcased why she's been ruling like a monster for decades. But off-brand Shanks and Diddler Paddler Law aren't the type to accept defeat, and that's what happened. Law catches Big Mom lacking and took no time to land a critical blow on her, and Walmart Shanks backed up with a literal railgun. Just give Kid an American citizenship at this point.
Tacto! クロームパンクチャーブレーやれユースタシア
かかってこいおんどら倒せんのかい。俺はビッグマムだぞ。
ダメだパンカー終わりだより強靭でより高温の炎をまとう足になるイフリートジャンブ男は女を殴っちゃならねえバースコートタンドロフランセ
Sanji's fight against Queen is hands down absolute cinema. Queen, being a total a-hole, mocks Sanji and his ideals to such an extent that Sanji got both PTSD and nostalgia at the same time. And we all know what happens after a character remembers his past. And of course, Sanji surpasses his limits and burns even brighter than your future. Sanji actually showed why he's called a chef, and no shit he cooked Queen so hard that bro fell off the void.
久しぶりだなトラファルガーローゼハハハハゼハハハカイドウは当然持ってただろうどこへ行こうと逃げ場はねえぞリルームアンプテート聞いてた能力と違うクソーダメだグラッシュ化け物め
The infamous king of off-screen kills, Blackbeard makes his way to confront Law. When Law was out there chilling, Blackbeard decides to drop a bombshell and ambushes Law like a real pirate, and Law knows it's time for him to break the laws of animation. And so he did. Law flexes his mind-blowing abilities, and Teach follows it up by his ground-shaking ability. This fight wasn't that long, but it definitely wasn't short on action. Seeing my boy Law going from a peddler to a man fighting Yonkos on a daily routine is definitely a top-tier shit.
幹部全員能力者か全員海が弱点ってことだよなルーム
め
タクト
クラーメ
ゴムゴムの
Luffy's fight against Kaido is one hell of a cinema. This fight is without doubt the best fight in One Piece. After Luffy awakened his plot armor, Kaido seemed totally overpowered by him. Luffy flexes his absurd law-breaking abilities and leaves even Kaido speechless. But we all know how big of a monster Kaido is, and that's what he showcased. Kaido gives Luffy a small reality check and slaps him back into reality.
好きなだけ能力が世界を制することはないロジャーが能力者じゃなかったように覇気だけが全てを凌駕する大特権発揮海に落ちるね
Kizaru used to be a nightmare back in the days, but now he's Luffy's play toy. Luffy flexed his Gear 5 and manhandles a top tier like Kizaru with zero effort. But of course the fight isn't ending so quickly, is it? Kizaru flexes his lightning fast abilities and the budget of the studio, and props to Toei Animation for keeping up with this fight. Even though Kizaru went all out, it still wasn't enough to bring the best out of Luffy. But in terms of animation, it was a chef's kiss.
ワンピースまだ続ける気か海賊ごっこお前らのために積み上げてきた受け取れ四皇ども潔く退場しろルーキーども20年以上先の未来に次の時代を担う強力な海賊たちが新世界へ押し寄せてくる俺がもし死んだならカイドウを討てるのはそいつらだ
Episode 1015 is literally a masterpiece. Even though I've glazed it several times, the hype never fades off for some reason. The entire episode feels like a cinematic masterpiece. I've seen this episode so many times that I can now hear the screams of animators. Well, jokes aside, this episode lacked nothing. Even the goofy sounds didn't feel goofy anymore, and not to forget how Luffy brought Kaido on his knees. This is what we call an absolute cinema.
遅くなった。
おい小僧、
トロ、こいつら全員下へ。
お前さんが覇気と呼ぶそれをワノ国では竜王と呼ぶ。流れるという意味を持っている。
ゴムゴムのヘッドロック。おいカイド。俺はモンキー・ディ・ルフィ、海賊王になる男だ。
どけザコども。両手両足縛ってもお前らじゃガープさんの命は取れねえよ。アイスグローブ。厄介な敵を育てましたね。
We've seen numerous mentors versus student fights, but for some reason this fight hits different. Kuzan, after joining the Blackbeard pirates, faces off his mentor Garp. The animation and impact frames of this episode actually left me speechless. Garp, being in his late 80s, still shows he still has the dog in him. And not to forget, Garp almost decimated the entire crew of Teach. This fight perfectly captures the emotion and respect Kuzan has for his sensei, and even showcases that Garp is still proud of his pupil.
三刀流煉獄。下流ドン。早い。薬効取り。
Zoro's fight against King is without doubt the best visually stunning fight in One Piece. This fight even has the Guinness World Record for the most frames in a single second. At this point, the animators have officially lost it. This entire episode had world-class visuals, and the choreography too wasn't disappointing. Zoro's out here fighting every black character possible. My boy must have been a cop in his previous life. Zoro's here keeping the "if he is white, don't fight" still alive, and I find it pretty concerning. Zoro's out there punching air right now after realizing Mihawk's not black.
威勢のいい剣士だったと記憶に残しといてやる。こっちから刻んでやるよ。お前の命が続くならな。下流ドン。 ってやろうじゃねえか、地獄の王に。勝者ゾロ。